I'm a passport bro right here in Thailand. Hate the name, love the life, and you probably know if you watch my channel regularly that I talk about the comparison about dating and living in America with dating and living here in Thailand. But today I have a great guest because it's another passport bro, and there are very few of us, no matter what you see on social media, who came also from America about a little over a year ago and actually is now married to a wonderful Thai woman. And this is his story. All right, I'm going to jump right in. Do you consider yourself a passport bro?
Yeah. So I lived in America my whole life with little exceptions here and there. And at age 55, got divorced, wanted to have kids again. Dating was absolutely horrible. 55, trying to find someone under 40, it just wasn't happening. Dating was, even under 45, dating was terrible. And I speak Japanese. I'd lived in Japan before, so I went to Japan first. It was better, but for visa reasons, I had to leave the country, and I planned a trip, ended up in Bangkok, and loved it here. And after about 1 month, I found her.
Yeah, well, we'll get that in a second. Let's save the how awesome this place is. Let's talk about what happened to America. Now, you were married before. So if you were just to compare the dating experience when you were courting your wife to where you were once you got divorced, do you see the difference, and what is the difference?
I don't think I thought about it that much, but it was obviously much better. And I would, my ex-wife, we're divorced. Most people hate their ex-wife. I'm like, no, my ex-wife was pretty good.
Yeah.
She's a good person. She's still a good person. I think that we found each other in school, and it worked out, and it was great for 20 plus years, and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I dated other people over the course of, 10 years or so before I met her, and dating was good. And then something completely changed in the 30 so years I was with her.
So what is it that you're realized is missing from the dating scene that essentially, this is a big deal, right? We left our countries, left our families and friends. This is like people think like, oh, they just enjoy. It was hard for us. So what is it that drove you out of your home country, essentially? What is it that you observed about dating that you felt like you can't find a wife anymore?
I used every dating app I could. I used matchmaking services. I talked to friends to see if anybody knew anybody. I'm part of, the Tesla community and the SpaceX community, and I went out of my way to try to date women even women who I thought were not perfect. And I just found like I was getting, 1 or 2 matches a month, less than 1 first date, maybe 3 or 4 first dates a year, maybe 1 second date a year. I just wasn't getting any, I had a vision of what I wanted, and I just didn't think I was going to get there.
Why not?
I didn't think I was meeting enough women who were potentially interested in me for me to have, you don't just like find somebody and then 2 weeks later you're married. You've got to spend months together. And for me, like dating intensively to like really get to know each other, really see each other in a bunch of situations. Like, well, I don't see that happening before I'm too old to have kids. Like at 55, some people think I'm too old to have kids. Well, it's better than 65. And I wanted to have kids, by the time I was 60 or close. And I just didn't think it was going to happen.
But what, like, jump right into like the details. Like, you post your ads, you talk to the girl. Where's the disconnect?
Oh,
Where's it?
God.
Did they not like you? You did not like them? And how is it different than it used to be?
It's long enough ago that I don't necessarily remember how it was. In the past, we didn't use dating apps. You met people in school.
Right.
I was in school. I met my wife in school, my ex-wife in school. That's just a totally different scenario. I would just say that I wasn't getting matches. When I did get matches, my favorite example is I was dating in the Miami area. And I would meet a woman online, be chatting, and I'd say, hey, let's go to dinner. And I would propose a place, which is like a nice sushi place. Not like a crazy over-the-top sushi place, but a nice sushi place with a Japanese chef, which means something to me because I'm a Japan nut. And 3 times I proposed this place to women in Miami, and 3 different women were like, oh, I'd rather go to this place. And they would point me to, no, one of them wanted me to pay for her Uber. I'm coming from like an hour outside of town.
Yeah.
And she's got like a 5-minute ride. And she wants me to pay for her Uber. I said, no, okay, that one didn't happen. 2 of them suggested these restaurants that were like $250 a person before alcohol. And I'm like, that's like a 10th anniversary date. That's not the first date. So I just really wasn't. And then some matchmaking services just told me, like, it's just lunch that, yeah, we can't match you. A couple of matchmaking services tried. One of them, I did have a girlfriend for 3 months, and she was a train wreck. But like, it was just like I exhausted the pool of the matchmaking service. There just aren't. I think for me, because I was 55 at the time, women under 40 just didn't consider me viable. They
was
have
it the age? Was
yeah,
it the
age and probably, maybe there's something else. I mean, I'm 6 foot tall. I'm a millionaire. I have status. I have all the stuff that they tell you to get. But I think they have their heart set on someone younger. Is my best guess. Maybe I don't know. I think I'm fine, but maybe they think I'm not what they're looking for.
Right. Well, I mean, it's no secret that women that, for example, in their 40s, they want a guy who's also in their 40s, but the guys who's in their 40s who are worth anything don't want a girl in their 40s. They want a girl in their 20s, right? So that is one of the new weird things that's happened with women. But specifically with you, the examples that you just gave me, do you feel like essentially these women are just wanted to have you take them out, use your money for whatever, and then weren't really ever going to give you anything that you would want?
Correct. Yeah, they were not interested in developing a serious relationship. And look, I went on a couple of dates where I knew it wasn't going to be a serious relationship or nothing was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was just like somebody said, well, go on dates anyway.
Yeah.
Just get practice dating. So I did some of that, but I just felt like I was wasting my time. And I'm like, look, I met a woman on what was then Twitter.
Yeah.
On a space, like a Zoom, audio Zoom thing. And we hit it off. And she was in her 34, something like that. She lived in New York City. I lived in Florida. I said, hey, if I come up to New York City, will you have dinner with me? So we had a first date. And then I think I made a mistake in not waiting for her to come to Florida. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about coming up for another New York City again. Will you spend the day with me? And that one, I guess, didn't go that well, and she dumped me, right?
Any reason why? Did you explain?
I'm not ready, some other bullshit, I don't know.
Right, okay, yeah.
I mean, the chemistry wasn't there, to be blunt.
Okay.
I didn't think the chemistry was there, but I'm patient. Like, it's not always going to be there on the first or second date. Let's get to know each other, and let's see how it develops, and something didn't click for her, or maybe she had something personal in her life for real, I don't know, but it didn't click, and that was fine. But I flew to California to meet with one woman. It wasn't necessarily a date, but I thought maybe there's something potentially here. I was on a road trip, and I went out of my way to meet someone on the road trip. I met somebody else on a road trip. Like, whatever I was doing, I tried. If I met a woman who was potential, I tried. And women with 3 kids, the father of the first 2 in federal prison, and the other father, not married to her, not really committed to her.
And you're not good enough, right? You're the one who's not good enough, right?
For whatever reason, I said, let's see each other again, and no. I couldn't make it happen. And I'm not going to waste time. You're 37 years old, you got 3 kids, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. I don't claim to understand. And I do believe there are good women in America.
Really? Wow.
I don't think they're all gone. Look, I have daughters. Right? I know my daughters. I know their friends. I think they're good people. I think that
good people and good potential wives are different things. There are good women out there.
I want to believe that my daughters are good potential wives.
Well, you're a little biased, but generally speaking, let's exclude your family.
Young. And to be fair, they're young.
Yeah.
So one of them's in college, one of them's recently out of college. So I think they're good people. I think they could make a good partner, right? But in general, I think it's just, and I'll say this in defense of the women, they get barraged by a lot of shitty men. I hope it's okay if I swear. A lot of shitty men. There's the simps that they don't respect, and then there's a lot of shitty men who they think might be good, but then those men treat them like shit. And it's how are they supposed to identify who's a good man? And I don't think that's easy for women. And
well, their father should have taught them. Their family should have taught them. The problem is they don't have fathers, so that when they do, they're simps, they're soft, they're beta males, so they actually get a really opposite example.
Again, I think I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I think there are some good ones. And just another example, sorry. I took up the hobby of country line dancing, right? Another way to meet women, and also I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to this place, and there's a group of women who are like 20-ish. And there's a group of women who are like single moms in their 40s. And I'm talking to my friends about this. I'm like, because we're going bar hopping in Melbourne, Florida, and and I'm not criticizing any of the women that I met, but it's like the 20-year-olds, they're a little too young, and they're probably not interested in me, and the 40-year-olds, they're not going to have kids again, right? Yeah. So I'm talking to my male friends. I'm like, where are the 30-year-olds? Where are the 35-year-olds? They're like, we don't know either. Like maybe they're already married, maybe they're in serious relationships, and then it doesn't work out. There's this gap that we saw from like age 28 to 38. They're like, where are they? We just didn't. I don't know where they were.
Well, I can tell you, they're usually in the office buildings trying to make money. They have careers or already married to be divorced, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's get a little bit real here. You mentioned SIPs, right? My theory is, and I think it's a pretty good theory, is that in order to be in a relationship in America or in a Western country, you have to be a simp. Essentially, you have to give so much more and almost right away to a woman and get almost nothing in return. That is, to me, it's not worth it. But this is the only way how I see guys get in the relationships. Do you think that you have simped? And do you think that it helped or hurt your cause? I have simped. It took me a little bit to realize that, what used to be a gentlemanly thing to do is now has the opposite effect, and it's now called simping because it's just so bad for you.
So I didn't think about it that much while it was happening.
Right.
I would say probably yes. I mean, I didn't help anybody move, right, from one apartment to another.
Well, you traveled all the way to another state to meet a girl, right? Like,
well,
that could be considered.
Okay, so to be fair, when I flew to New York to meet her, my daughter lives in New York.
Oh, okay, all right, fair
and
enough.
I spent 3 hours with my daughter, and we had a nice dinner.
Yeah.
Right? So, and is that simping? I don't know. I thought it was a bold move, right? And I had the money. Like, it cost me a couple $100, like, big deal.
Well, so this is where I think a lot of people go wrong. They think it's just because it's not a big deal for you, you have a lot of money.
I didn't give her money.
Still.
In fact, actually, she paid for the first date.
Oh, okay, wow.
Like, I had to run to make a plane. She wasn't poor. She's got plenty of money.
Yeah.
She just took care of it. I paid for the next one when I flew up the second time. But even that woman, I thought she was great, but I didn't click for her. Okay.
So, when did it click for you that, hey, listen, we all have families and friends, and we speak the language, we're part of the culture. Nobody wants to leave what they know, right? At least to the comfort zone. I think you and I both had pretty good lives there, right? What put you over the edge and said, I'm going to leave everything that I know, essentially, go in a place that I don't necessarily know, and it's all because I want to find that one girl that I cannot find in America anymore?
Yeah, I don't think there was a trigger. I think it was a cumulative effect of failure upon failure upon failure. And then I have an advantage over most people, which is I lived in Japan before. I speak Japanese. I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect in Japanese, but I had lived there for a year.
Yeah.
I knew how to do it. And in thinking about it ahead of time, both my daughters graduated university and high school, and I bought them a graduation present of a trip to Japan. So we went to Japan it was like a 10-day trip. So I visited Japan to see, would I want to try this? And be blunt, I think Asian women are beautiful, and including Japanese women. And, and I told my daughters what I was doing. If I didn't tell them, hey, I'm taking you to, I said, by the way, I'm thinking about going to Japan.
Yes.
And they knew I was trying to find a wife and have kids again. And so I explored the idea, and I'm still doing what I'm doing. And it's just like constantly reminded that it's not happening here. I don't think it was a one moment thing. I mean, the girlfriend, I had this one girlfriend in Miami who was a train wreck. That was not good, right? There was a lot of heartache. I met somebody on one of my road trips, and I thought we hit it off, and then I'm trying to set up a second date, and it's just like, and there was a level. Oh, I didn't mention this. I would say some of the women, it's not just a question of like they're difficult or they want simps or whatever. They're like literally insane.
Example, please.
She told me that she was having I'm a Tesla fan, Elon Musk fan.
Yeah.
She told me that she'd been having a DM conversation with Elon for months with something like, her estimate, 10,000 messages. And I'm just going to say, and like it was a romantic relationship.
Oh.
And it's like, no, you're not having a. He's not DMing you.
Right. Yeah.
And she's explaining it all, and I'm like, there's just all this stuff, and I says, well, here. And she's like, he had a reason why he couldn't meet her and all this stuff. I was like, I got it. I live in Cape Canaveral. SpaceX launches rockets there. Get him to invite me. I'm like, Elon follows me on X now.
Yeah,
like he knows who I am. Get Elon to invite me with a +1 to a launch that he's going to be at. And then you'll get to meet him in person, and no one will know because, oh, she's just Warren's date.
Yeah.
Strangely, she wasn't able to set that up.
Oh, I cannot believe that.
But like the level of insanity that, and I think it's partly like they hit a certain point. Like she'd been through a lot in life. She'd had a lot of challenges in life, a lot of problems. But I think there's a lot of women who are just like, they're just batshit crazy.
Does she have a father in her life?
I don't know the answer to that.
Wow. See, to me, that's one of the number one questions. Does a woman have a strong, positive male role model? Now, having a father is not enough, right? The father, a lot of times, is just a...
So the one I dated, I had a 3-month relationship in Florida. Like, yeah, her father was present. I would not call him a strong... Like, her mother was good. I thought her mother was a good female role model.
Yeah.
Father, no.
Yeah, to me, it's number one question. So, okay, so now that you got here and you've dated for a while, you've been here more than a year, and we'll get to your marriage in a second. What have you noticed in the first several weeks or months of dating here? Give me the contrast.
Well, I have to first thank you.
Yeah.
Because I talked to you about this fairly early on, and you gave me some advice that was helpful. And I used... primarily, I used 2 dating apps or 2 dating websites or whatever, Thai Friendly and Thai Cupid.
Yeah.
And I don't remember which. I remember some of the advice you gave me. I think you may have given me other advice I don't remember. But it was like, I think maybe it was your words. Imagine you're a 24-year-old Instagram model in Los Angeles and you turn on a dating app. And it was just like a flood of incoming messages.
To you now. You are now the 24-year-old.
I'm the 24-year-old bikini model.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles, getting infinite numbers of women that are interested in me.
Yeah.
And I did some of what you said and maybe some of what other people said. I filtered for what I wanted, which was educated, speak some English. Not necessarily what you would want, but what I wanted.
I literally want the opposite, but okay.
Sure,
It's a show.
No, and then I cast a wide net, and I would talk to a woman online. I would say, well, where do you live? And if she lived somewhere I hadn't been, well, why don't we go to this? I found a coffee shop near you. Why don't we meet there? And I had on my profile, because I'm not looking to get laid, right? I'm looking for a long-term relationship, having kids, potentially marriage, whatever. I said on my dating profile, first date will be coffee or ice cream during the day. Second date will be lunch. And the reason for this, and then the third date will be dinner. And the reason for this is it's sending a message to the woman that every woman I've talked to understood immediately when I described the strategy, that I'm not going to try to have sex with you on the first 2 dates. Mm-hmm. I want to get to know you. The women who want to get treated to a nice dinner and then expect to give you a blowjob, they're not going to say no. Well, those aren't the women I'm looking for. I'm looking for the women who are educated, professional in some sense, are looking for a long-term relationship, and they're going to appreciate that style. And it was just like, I was doing like 2 or 3 coffee dates a day sometimes. Because
it goes both ways. The women filter you out as someone who is serious, but you also filter out the type of women you remember in America that will use you up to just buy them. So like I also have a 300 baht limit, which is about 10, so even about maybe $7, $8 American dollars for the first date, no matter what. Mm-hmm. I always invite to the coffee shop so they know this is not going to be my wallet on the date rather than me. So okay, and so just to contrast. Like, it's literally what happened was the opposite. The number of women interested, the number of women who are interested in a serious relationship, and the number of women who actually showed up to the dates. Have you ever seen that before in your American life?
It's completely different. It's
by different you mean much fucking better.
Yeah. It's like 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
It's like I would Another example in America, a woman I had met, I would go out with these friends in Melbourne, Florida, and I'm going to say this woman is at best, she's younger, she's like 27, maybe 28, something like that. At best a 4. like that's being kind, maybe.
Yeah. All right.
Call her a 4.
Yeah.
Okay. I see her on Hinge. I'm like, all right, I'll say yes. I'll match with her. And she matched. Like, oh, cool. All right. And she knew who I was. We'd had like a minimal conversation once, and we'd been at a couple of events together as a group. And I said, hey, let's go to this Japanese place. That's like the place that a lot of people go to. And
this is in America still.
this is in Florida, right? And we have the plan, and I'm driving to the Japanese place. It's like an hour drive, maybe a 40-minute drive for me. And I'm halfway, and I had texted her earlier in the day, hey, just confirming. She didn't reply. And that should have been a warning flag, but I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, all right. And I'm 20 minutes from there, and she texts me, hey, something came up, I can't make it.
Right.
I didn't quite get stood up, but I basically got stood up.
Then you got stood up, yeah.
By a 4.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know if I like her yet. I mean, I know I had a nice conversation. I thought she was an okay person. Yeah. All right, maybe I can get her to go to a gym or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But, like, I like, you know me, like, you're going to see me again. Actually, I don't think I ever did see her again. Like, maybe she like stopped going to the events with my friends because she was worried she's going to see, because I was out with them all the time.
Yeah.
But, that doesn't happen here.
And so...
I don't think I got stood up once.
Yeah.
I think women showed up. I would typically, buy them a coffee. We would chat a little bit, maybe go for a walk. And then sometimes I would schedule a second date. And I had 2 women, I don't know if I'm going too far into this, but I had 2 women I had a couple of dates with that I liked. But I also dated the woman who's now my wife, and I really liked her a lot. I didn't say no to the first 2 yet, or anybody else yet. Yeah. I probably had like a few first dates coming up or whatever, but after the 3rd date with, my wife's name is Ploy, after the 3rd date with Ploy, I just told the other women, hey, I'm out. Yeah. I found somebody, I'm serious. I'm not the kind of guy who wants to date 5 women at the same time. Yeah. This looks like what I want. I want to explore this relationship. I want to dive in deep. And like there's like one like, she was really nice, but
yeah. I mean, isn't it amazing that I literally just put out a video where I say that here you get to reject women, and I don't mean it in a bad way, because a lot of them are amazing women, but you're not stuck with the only choice you possibly have, right? You have all these choices, and you can say, you know what, this one is very nice and she's pretty, but I know this is just not the right connection, and you get to reject women rather than the other way around. It is so important to have choices.
I didn't feel that way. I mean, I definitely felt like, okay, if I didn't connect with somebody, okay, we're not doing a second date. But the other women that I still liked. I would have dated them again. And it's just, for me, it was like, okay, I found somebody that I'm serious about. And my approach is, once I found somebody that I'm serious about, I date this person. And I really ramp up the intensity to like, by the 5th date, we were like on a weekend trip to Vietnam. Yeah. Like a 3-day trip to Vietnam or something. Like I want to see, so it wasn't so much like I didn't even think about it that much. Maybe I'm being cold, but like if there was no connection, I didn't feel it was right. I just, didn't contact him again. Yeah. But there were 2 or 3 women that I liked that I had to say no to. Yeah. Not because they were bad. It's just like, no, I'm exploring
because
this
you had better
now.
choices. This is the whole point. Now let's switch topics just a little bit. So we're passport bros. There's no. I mean, do you hate the term as much as I do? I mean, I feel like really. Oh yeah, I hate the term. But
I think we have disagreements about what it means. But
well, I mean, there's no dictionary definition. But I think generally speaking, people know that it's Western men who want to be in more traditional relationships, and they believe that they can't find it in America anymore, in a Western country, and move to a more traditional culture. I think generally speaking, most people will agree to that. But what do you say to those, mainly women, but a lot of simps, men who agree with this, is that, well, you passport bros are just losers who couldn't find a girl in America, so they go to countries where they have no choice, where you get to buy them and control them, and because you're rich. So what do you say to that? Because in some cases that is true, but just generally speaking, as far as us, the guys who came here with a purpose.
Well, so I mean, I do agree that I felt like a loser. And I mean, I didn't feel like a loser in my regular life, but in dating, I did feel like a loser. I was losing, it wasn't working. And I came here, and I would say without question that my wife is a better person all around than anyone I dated. Like, she has a bachelor's degree, she has a master's degree, she's kind, she's good with her family. There's so many good things about her. She's fit. You know,
She had a job making her own money.
she had a job. She was working for an American company, you know, like an IT or something like
Not
that.
a poor, uneducated Thai woman who needed money from you, essentially, as these people would
I mean,
suggest.
she had a life.
Yeah.
She had a life. She was doing okay. What I think I learned from you was, I think we are an upgrade. It's not that the women are weak or there's something wrong with the women. It's that we are an upgrade on the men that they have, that they have the pool of men that they have to choose from. We are an upgrade on, like, time. It is partly money, but I would say it's also partly like character. It depends on who the guy is, right? If some American guy is an asshole who gets drunk all the time and, you know, doesn't conduct himself well and doesn't treat his friends well or whatever, okay, she might not look at you as like a great guy, right? But if you're just a generally quality guy in America and you come here, you're an upgrade on most Thai men, and honestly, you're probably an upgrade on most foreign men. There's a lot of foreign men here who aren't that great.
And these are the guys who give us usually a bad name, and that's why people think that we're all this way. But they're not passport bros. They just wandered in here, and a lot of times because they couldn't afford financially there, right? So it's a completely different category. Okay, so you know, speaking about upgrades over other men, a lot of times the upgrade is not just with money, because obviously money is important as a provider, right? As a provider, especially going to have children, they need to have education and all that stuff. You're dating a younger woman, probably going to die before her. You want to take care of her out of your grave, you know, like you have to, you know, I feel the same way. I date younger women a lot as well. So I know I have to have some extra money for her to live on if we get married and I die, right? So, but beyond that, beyond being a provider, for example, I know that a lot of Thai women who are dark skinned, which is not considered to be as beautiful here by Thai men, for us, it's actually an upgrade. So a lot of times, a Thai woman would date a foreigner just because we actually like something that here in this culture is considered to be ugly sometimes, right? So, and I think people don't understand nuances of this culture. Okay, so now you've been married for a while. Compare you know, how good of a bad of a choice that you've made, how happy or unhappy you are. I mean, I think I know the answer to that. And do you think you would ever be able to achieve that in America?
I don't want to say I wouldn't be able to achieve in America. I would say the probability looked extremely low. And I think once I arrived here, I think the chances were okay in Japan. I wasn't trying as hard as I should have in Japan, and I didn't give Japan a fair chance, but I got here to Bangkok, and it was obviously better from the get-go here. And then I met and I think I was a little bit lucky in meeting my wife, and I could go into detail about the luck. But I think a lot of people, it takes longer to find what you're looking for a variety of reasons. But you know, I'm ecstatic. I'm really like I think people have this idea of this is what I'm looking for. They have sort of like a checklist. Like I want somebody who's not fat. I want somebody, like my case, who's educated, somebody who speaks English, right? In America, I sort of had like, you know, for me, the checkbox was, do I like her? Does she like me? And then, you know, is she not, like, I don't like fat.
Right.
Right. Okay, so that's like a thing for me.
You're in the right country for that.
There's not a lot else beyond that for me. And I'm dating her, and I like her. She likes me. And then I had this thing where I want to see what you're like with your friends. I want to see what you're like with your family. So we went to lunch with her friends, and I saw that, nice. And then we went to like a family event, and I saw her with her family, and I saw how caring she was towards her father, how caring she was towards her mother, her nieces. She's just a really good person. And
Father present.
Well, her father is not really pleasant anymore. That's a long conversation. That's a health issue. But he's alive.
Yeah.
But just seeing the way she behaved around others, and he was present for most of her life, to be fair.
Right. That's what I mean.
But just seeing how she treated others, like that wasn't on my checklist. It should have been, right?
It's absolutely on mine.
And like, you know,
her relationship with her father, how she's with her family and friends, because that can tell you almost everything about her.
Yeah. No.
She might just sit in a corner and not talk to me. I will just watch her interactions.
No, and I think when I was dating in America, like that wasn't on my list, and I knew women or had dated women who really weren't that good with their family, and it wasn't like a strikeout for me.
Yeah.
It probably should have been,
See,
but I know it now.
yeah, and this is why tattoos, I always say, stay away from the tattoos. They indicate a lot of the problems that really what you now figured out is important, right? Her relationship with family and friends and her father and stuff like that. All right, so now we did it, right? Well, you're already married. I'm still looking simply because I don't speak good enough Thai to meet a girl yet, and my requirement is that she doesn't speak English. But you know, at the end of the day, we're here. We're much happier one way or another with dating, and actually, this is an amazing country. Anyway, so
love it here.
what would you say to a lot of men in America who are now finally waking up to the same conclusion that me and you came up with, right? That like, listen, we're good men. You know, we provide well. We've never done a bad thing. You know, we've been good boyfriends and husbands and fathers before, but that's not what women are looking for anymore. So, you know, it's kind of like, I think somebody gave an example of bottle of water, right? Bottle of water is a bottle of water, but if you buy it at the grocery store, it's $1. If you buy it at a, you know, a 5-star restaurant, it's $5. But if you buy it in a business class of an airplane up there in the air, it's $10, right? Same bottle of water, it depends on where it's at. So I want it to be the bottle of water in a business class on the airplane. So what do you say to those men that essentially waking up to the fact that the chances of them finding the same type of women that their fathers and grandfathers had access to, and even us early in our lives, is pretty much completely gone, and it's only going to, you know, everything's just going to look worse and worse. What would you say to them when they do still want to do what you did, find a wife and hopefully have another family?
Well, I mean, I'm not confident to say it can't happen in America. I certainly think it's worth giving it a try. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I'm not convinced that it's impossible. I just think it's hard, and it's certainly worth a try. But I would have a short window on that. I think for me, the timing of my life, like I literally got on the plane like a week after my youngest daughter started university, right? She entered college, and like that was my trigger for when I was actually going to go. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, she's going to be busy with college. She's not going to need to see me that much anymore. Okay, good. I think the biggest thing I would say is I think a lot of men might be hesitant because they think it's too difficult. It's not. It's easy. Life here is easy.
Oh, yeah.
You and I both speak some Thai, but when I arrived, I didn't speak Thai.
Me neither.
And I see lots of men who've been here and women who've been here for 5, 10 years. Same thing in Japan, 5, 10 years, 20 years, and they don't speak the language. I would say identify some countries you want to visit and try. I think the 2 prime countries, if you're looking for women, are Thailand and the Philippines, but I think Laos, Cambodia. I think Japan has potential. I just didn't. You know, I think there's a lot of potential countries, and I would say identify countries you're interested and go, and don't just go for a weekend. Don't go for a week and stay in like a resort
hotel.
Don't
be a tourist.
Get an Airbnb for a week. Go to a grocery store, cook a meal or 2. Go and see, and this is a big thing for you and me, right? Don't just hang out where the foreigners are. You have to get out, and even it's like people might be afraid of it. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's easy. Go to the places where I was talking to you earlier today before we started the video.
Yeah.
Look around you over the course of a day. How many foreigners did you see? How many non-Thai people did you see?
Yeah.
For me, where I live now, it's about 5. Right? If you're in certain parts of Bangkok, it's 5. When you look around right at this moment,
right,
there's 20 or 50.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a big question. Like, I think it's important to get out and see a part of the country where there aren't foreigners. And I think you would agree with this. If you are in a place that's filled with foreigners, the women you meet might be different than what you're looking for. And if you're in the place where there are no foreigners, those women might be more what you're looking for. And it may be that, no, those women are good or whatever. Get out and see more. Come for 2 weeks, come for as long as you can, and experience it. And recognize also the cost of living here. My quality of life is much higher than my quality of life in America. The cost of living for that is probably 1/3 to 1/4 of my cost of living in America. And if I wanted to, I could be significantly less.
Yeah. So you basically advise listen, get the fuck out of America, essentially. Give it a bit of a try, because I think most guys already have, but get the fuck out of America or Western countries.
I would give Latin America a chance. I might give Eastern Europe a chance.
I mean, America, the United States, or Great Britain, you know, the modern countries.
I'm personally biased. From my research, I say I'm biased for Thailand, right? But I would say Philippines, my sense is Philippines might be a good place. I think Japan might be a good place. I think Asia in general there's a lot of potential, and you want to identify, is there a country you're interested in? But if you said, Warren, I want to go to Colombia, or I want to go to Istanbul or whatever, like, I don't know, look it up, see what's the dating scene like in that country. And it's just fundamentally, like, I want to hit at this point that I think I learned from you, and I understand it more. It's not just money, it's attitude, right? We're going to have air conditioning wherever we live. We're going to have air purifiers wherever we live. The air quality in Thailand, depending on where you are in Thailand, is not great. Where we are now, it's not great. We're going to have children, and our children are going to get a good education. Like from the get-go, they're going to have a good education now, right? And then they're probably going to, we'll see how things are in 20 years, but they're probably going to go to an American university, right? And that's, like, I believe that I'm an upgrade on not just her life, but the lives of, like, what she might have expected for her children. Her children are going to have a much better life. And not just because of the money, but because of the attitude, because I'm educated, because I'm going to make sure my kids learn English no matter what. Like, that's a big deal in Thailand for young people to learn English well. Like, they learn English, but do they learn English well? And and most of them don't learn well at all. I'm committed to providing those kids with a better quality of life than anyone in her family's ever had. And not because I'm comparing to her family, it's just like, this is the quality of life I expect to have. And you can see it. You know, I'm giving her, I think, number one, a man who is better to her than the average Thai man, and maybe better than the average foreigner as well. And also someone who's, like, I've taken her on so many trips. Let's go to Japan, let's go to Thailand, let's go to Taiwan, let's go to, we're going to Europe in a month. Like, I'm giving her the chance to see the world that she might never have seen to the extent that she's seeing it with me. And her children will get that. So, and I'm helping her family in small ways that, you know, maybe, I think there's so much you can do without simping. It's not simping, it's just like, this is easy for me, I want to make your life better, I want to help out with this. And I think there's a lot that you can bring to the table. It's a popular thing to say. I think we bring a lot to the table. If you're committed to it, you can bring a lot to the table and make a woman's life better. And she's going to love you forever because you're giving her a better life than she had before, that she thought she would have.
I absolutely love hearing the stories of other men who are good men, good providers, you know, have made and will make great husbands and fathers in the future like they've done in the past, who just did not have anything left that they could pick from in modern countries like America, Britain, and so forth, who give themselves a second chance and come to Southeast Asia, South America, and other traditional countries, and now have choices of these amazing traditional women, and like in Warren's case, find the one, get married, and now their lives are complete again. For those of you who followed me from my other channel called E4 Electric, you've probably seen Warren as a guest on that channel because we've known each other for a while. He is also into electric cars. That's what my previous channel was about. But now my new passion and my new goal is to get as many men to wake up to what's happening to them when it comes to dating, and understand that their only choice to meet a good traditional woman is to do what I and Warren did, which is to get the fuck out of America, get the fuck out of whatever European country you're in, and move to another country with more traditional values where you now have a chance. And if you want to do just that, go to themillionmanproject.com. That's where I've outlined every single little step that you need to take to plan, to pick the country of your choice, and to actually make this huge and probably the best decision that you will ever make for your dating life and for your life in general. So check it out, and hopefully me and Warren will see you right here, joining all of us men who are happy.